Welcome, everybody, to the Spawn on Me podcast. I'm your host, Kahlief Adams, and I'm joined this week and every week for episode 148 with my man, my mellow, the smooth kind of fellow, the man who makes STEM looks good, who makes gaming looks good, who makes math look good, Shareef Bartholomew Jackson. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I guess I'm upgraded to the Bartholomew for the Bartholomew. I always mispronounce that. Bart.
Bart.
Let's just call it Bart. Isn't that Bart Simpson's full name? Isn't it like Bartholomew?
I always thought that Bart was short for Barth. Before I can't even say it now.
I know. I can't say it either. Yeah. I think that's his full name. I think
that's a dope name. Anyway, it's one of those cool names that I feel like you have to have Bartholomew, your last name, and then the third after.
Okay, I have one important question for you, and this is critical to Spawn on Me and its mission.
Okay,
did you own a Black Bart T-shirt as a youth?
I had a Black Bart T-shirt. I had a Black Bart T-shirt where he had dreads and he had a Africa medallion.
Okay.
And he was right. Go ahead.
Okay, I had a Black Bart dunking a basketball. I believe, if I remember right, he had some kind of chain on. And he was saying one of his phrases like "don't have a cow" or something like that.
The dope thing was like, remember they had all the versions of Black Bart. It was like Jamaican Black Bart. It was like African American Black Bart. It was like all the different versions of. I never saw like an Idris Elba version of Black Bart though. No. It wasn't like a British Black Bart. It was never that. It was always,
nope. It was always like the worst of well, not the worst stereotypes, but a certain kind of stereotype of what Black people are.
Oh my God!
And all those. So.
Oh my God!
Yeah, Black Bart represent.
Wow, Black Bart. Oh man, that's so funny. That's a great memory too. I don't know why that's such a great memory, but
it's a good memory.
It really is. That like brought me back to like good times when I was in my youth step.
I'm about to eBay them joints. I'm about to eBay one.
I bet you they have one too. I bet you could totally find one. I wouldn't be surprised if you wouldn't be able to.
Somebody's dirty Black Bart from the attic.
Oh God! I bet you it's like the T-shirts from the Super Bowl that never get made. There's like a whole island of kids wearing Black Bart T-shirts somewhere.
Exactly. It's like a whole bunch of people with Knicks championship hats from 1999 and 1994. Just rocking them.
Oh my God! Well, I hopefully they are also wearing championship shirts from Spawn for Good. Hopefully they are rocking some "We Did It" shirts because we did it. We raised a good amount of money for One Simple Wish. We raised over $1,200. We had 19 wishes fulfilled, and it was a great time. It was one of those weekends again where we get to share with our community, with all of you at home. Doing some good for Martin Luther King weekend, and thank you to you, Reef, and C, and everybody else who streamed with us for the weekend, because again, without you guys and without the crew, without everyone, we couldn't have done it. So shout out to One Simple Wish for being an amazing sponsor as well. Working with them was great. Great partners. Folks from Plantronics, again, thank you to them for helping us with some giveaways. And thank you to Bricago for sending us codes for games that we were able to give away. And all that great stuff. It's so fun again to have everyone in the crew, in our fam, in our Bricago city, which is now probably a sanctuary city. Rock with us and stuff like that.
See, we gotta get that federal funding, man.
I mean, I'm saying
federal funding now.
We have to go rogue. We're gonna need a rogue Twitter account at some point. Reef, how'd you feel about the event? How'd you feel about the whole weekend?
I liked it, man. I really look forward to it now. I mean, it's our third year, and I had so much fun in the previous 2 years, and we, it just makes you feel good. It's a great start to the year, a great energizing thing to help, other people that like need resources, right? So like it felt great. It was a nice send off for my Wii U because I traded it toward my pre-order for the Switch. And also I finally got to play through some games that I had on my hard drive that like I never played. So yeah, it was like a lot of fun. I had some great support in the chat. even if you did not donate, shout out to the folks in the chat, because I definitely kept a bleary-eyed Shareef going for like almost 3 straight days. And yeah, I mean, it's just something that, like, I feel like, really distinguishes our show and our brand from others, is that social justice component, as well as the podcasting and the gaming stuff. So I'm really proud of it. I stand by it. Like, it's like one of the things that I can share with my non-gaming friends, and like they say, oh, I get it, this is awesome, right? Even if they don't listen to any of the shows, they know when a group of good people is doing something good, so.
Yeah, and it feels always like, we get to take a little bit of an inward look towards ourselves and say, you know what, the community that we've built and grown has been so wonderful and giving to us. How can we figure out ways to give back to them and to the surrounding communities that are affected by everything that we talk about during all the events that we throw? So again, thank you to everybody out there. We hope to be doing hopefully more of these. I would like to see this expanded to more than one Spawn for Good event during the year, especially now. We haven't even talked about the fact that Trump is in office on the show yet. But since Trump is in office, I'm sure that we will have lots of different things and topics and conversations that we can possibly throw some money, support, and some good wishes towards. So, keeping everybody in mind that we want to be able to do that. So keep things in your hearts and in your brains about what you may want to see the next Spawn for Good look like. So definitely be doing that. So 148 is about to get up in this piece. I know there's a lot of cool stuff that happened in the week. The first story that we were going to talk about, I think, was one about the quote unquote, I'm going to do my air quotes, leaked information about Xbox Scorpio. So if you want to run into that, Reef, we'll get underway.
Sure. So as people do, like these sites like Tom's Hardware and Digital Foundry and stuff, they're always digging around patents or looking at white papers and like all that kind of stuff to really get at the specs behind, a lot of the consumer products that we see. So they unearthed some information on the Scorpio that, obviously Microsoft hasn't verified that this is exactly what it is. But Digital Foundry, has a strong name for like breaking this stuff. And I'm going to go over some of the tech stuff, even though, it's not, if you're not a tech head, don't worry. We will wrap up exactly what that means. So basically they're saying that the raw power of the GPU, the graphical processing unit, is 4.5 times the capabilities of the Xbox One. Now that doesn't mean it'll look 4.5 times better, because I don't think any jump from console has been 4.5 times better.
Right.
But that does mean that in terms of the raw numbers, it says that it's like 4 times the L2 cache, which means it can store more things kind of locally on the processor, which means that it doesn't have to jump to the hard drive as much to gather additional data. But the one thing that like a lot of people are really talking about, and then I also heard on Gamertag Radio, was that it seems like that it's using a similar 4K scaling process that the PS4 Pro does. So the PS4 Pro does not render in native 4K.
Right.
It takes like some crazy resolution that's above 1080, and it like scales it up basically. And they're saying that it's very likely that the Scorpio will do the same thing. And this, if it's true, I think is a bit of a shock, because Microsoft has been saying that it will be a native 4K device. It's been saying that, this is going to be the most powerful thing on the planet and like all that stuff. So there's kind of a pro and a con to this in like my eyes, if it's not true. The con is that, they, kind of promoted something that won't really be there. It's probably something that they shouldn't have mentioned until they had more of an idea of what it can actually do. But the pro to this, and this goes against my prediction and towards Cicero's prognostication, is if they're not doing it native, that could mean that they could offer this at a more competitive price. It could mean that, if they're not packing in that horsepower to do native 4K, which like right now on a PC takes a beast of a PC to do even at 30 frames per second. It could mean that they could try to get to a price point that's, more around the PS4's price, and like could make it a more, a more compelling unit to like a large number of folks. So I don't have a 4K TV or a display, so it doesn't really fall into my personal wheelhouse. But I know that, I don't upgrade TVs that much, but I know that I don't think I'm as representative, because I know a lot of people that upgrade TVs like almost every Black Friday or like every 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Kyle, are you in the 4K game? Do you use your PS4 Pro at 4K? If you do, and is it something that you would be willing to sacrifice native 4K to get something like the Scorpio at a better price point?
Currently I'm not using my PS4 Pro in 4K anything yet, because one, I don't have a 4K TV in my living room. I have a new monitor that I bought for my PC, which will do 4K on my PC, but there is this weird resolution, because there's all these small things that you have to worry about when you're dealing with 4K, especially with the gaming consoles that we currently have. Most of your televisions have to be HDMI 2.0, which is an issue in and of itself. And my monitor isn't. It's like 1.4 currently. And to a certain extent, like I want to see the full horsepower of my PS4 Pro, and I haven't been able to do so. I am looking into getting into the market at some point. Don't tell my wife, because she'll stab me. Because those prices have come down in reasonable ways in the past couple months. But I do think that, is it going to be something that I'm really thinking about currently as a thing that when I'm playing the games that I'm currently playing, Resident Evil looks phenomenal on the system, and other games that I'm playing, Doom looked amazing on my PS4 and PS4 Pro. I'm not seeing anything currently, even when I'm playing on PC games in 4K, that is blowing me away in a way that I'm like, I need 4K. 2K to me is the medium ground for that kind of stuff, and that's pretty gorgeous in its own right. So, Scorpio and everyone kind of dropping all these bombs about, it's gonna be 4 times better, and it's gonna have, everyone's favorite catchword right now is teraflops. And it's like
right.
Teraflops is the new buzzword that everyone wants to throw around to show that penis is bigger than the other person, which is unreasonable, because most people don't give a shit about teraflops. But we will see, when this does get actually announced, and then we do see the specs that are going towards it. I do think that there will be a significant change in, horsepower for that machine. But again, if the games don't visually or kind of represent a new leap, will you really get the benefit of seeing it? Like, I don't think so. Like, I don't know what game that is currently in development will be the one that will give you that bump that you had between the PS2 and the PS3, or the PS3 and the PS4. We've kind of still hit this not the uncanny valley, but we've hit a level of fidelity that is not going to be surpassed in lots of ways yet. So, 4K is nice. It's nice to have on the box. And until we see something that actually utilizes that, then it doesn't really make that big of a difference to me. Are you still like are you digging into the 4K stuff of like, are you poking at it and it's being like, well, damn, I want to see a specific title in 4K or something like that?
I mean, there's definitely some titles that I've seen in 4K where I think it benefits tremendously.
Yeah.
Like The Witcher 3 in 4K looks like a completely different game.
Really?
Forza Horizon 3 in 4K looks amazing. So I think that I think there's a few showcase pieces that reminds me of when Gears of War 1 first came out.
Sure.
And it was like, you were like, how is this even possible?
Right.
I mean, I'm not even talking about like the mechanics and stuff, because that was also super inventive, right?
Yeah.
But like, I just mean just the visual part of it. I think 4K is definitely important. It will be more important later. But I do think that it does make a huge difference if you have the TV, if you have the latest HDMI cable, if you have HDR. So like you need all these other things, but I think that it makes it phenomenal. I just don't think a lot of people will have all those things. But when Microsoft and Sony launch consoles, they always talk about like future-proofing it, right? Now that might change a little bit because, you know, Sony is kind of setting a standard that they might be upgrading their consoles every 2 years.
Right.
And Scorpio is saying, hey, it's the last one that you ever have to buy because we're going to be updating it, you know, kind of like a separate way. So I mean, I like 4K, but yes, I would definitely sacrifice native 4K for a lower price because it's like the same way as, you know, when like Blu-ray drives first came out. Like you could watch an upscaled DVD to 1080p,
right,
and it looked great to me. At least, even though it wasn't native 1080, it wasn't a Blu-ray,
I think that
it still looked significantly better.
I think that's the thing too. Is like you have to have a significantly large television.
Yes,
which is what most people get when they kind of go for the 4K. If they're going if they're going to go for that kind of money and that kind of resolution, they're more than likely going for that size. But also, I think that there is a level of I don't know if what I spent is something that I'm actually seeing. You know what I mean? Because we know that the games, you know, what was it when they did the PS4 kind of improvements to some of the games? You know, a lot of people that I spoke to were like, yeah, I kind of see it. And it wasn't something that was like blatant or wasn't something that you were like, oh my God, this looks like something that I've never thought I'd be able to see in my lifetime stuff, which I think is some years down the line, you know, like that's still not going to be here yet. But do you think that Sony will try to counter in some way once Scorpio kind of drops? Do you think that they're going to, I'm sure they already have stuff in the works as far as like what they're thinking about for the next PS5 or whatever it is. But you know, do you think they're going to counter as soon as Scorpio does something?
I don't think so. I think they launched the PS4 Pro knowing the Scorpio would be more powerful.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go on price and the fact that I think the last I saw, Sony has like a 2-to-1, or sorry, the PS4 regular has like a 2-to-1 lead over the Xbox One.
Yeah.
So I think they're good. I think that they're like, hey, y'all can come out with whatever y'all want, like our library and our other things like VR and like that kind of stuff are doing well for them.
The funniest thing about all that was when we talked about, you know, the stories that we were going to do for this show, and you put the Xbox Scorpio stuff was on there. I was like, man, the best Xbox news I heard all day was that Shadows of the Dam was coming back on compatibility. I was like, I want that game real bad.
Yeah,
because I love that game. That game was great. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean I'll be really interested to see how the Scorpio does because I honestly think it might be kind of similar to the Switch where I think it'll pre-order, it'll sell out, people will like run to get it, and then I think it'll lag along for a bit. I think that I think that the 1S is really going to be their primary thing, and that's, you know, what people are going to mostly buy during the holidays because it's going to be $300 if not cheaper at that time. And that you can play everything on it and everything looks great on an Xbox One. You know what I'm saying? So like I think that it's going to be like an enthusiast thing, even more so than the PS4 Pro, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the Scorpio is going to be even more of an enthusiast thing in that these companies are still going to primarily focus on their base consoles, and I think in turn the developers are primarily going to focus on those and not necessarily make games that take advantage of the PS4 Pro and the Scorpio power, because like they're going to be like, hey, if 80% of the install base just has the regular one, like why waste the development resources to really make something that blows people out the water?
Isn't that interesting?
If they can't see it.
Yeah, isn't that interesting too? How we heard a lot of conversations about PS4 enhanced games, and that has kind of died down a lot.
Yeah,
already. Like that seems to have kind of just already automatically just gone away. Like I didn't hear anything about that with Resident Evil 7.
Really?
Like that's a game that would definitely
I'm surprised that's not enhanced for the Pro.
I mean, I don't. Well, one, I can't see it anyway because I don't have the television to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But two, usually they tout that. Like that's a thing that they say that's like a back of the box thing, or
Right.
it has to be front of the box now because they're like it can do this special thing on PS4 Pro. So that's interesting too. That idea has gone away really fast. Like no one is talking about that.
Yeah, that is kind of troubling for Sony, I think.
I agree.
Because I think they're banking on, like people that care about having the best version of something going for the PS4 Pro, getting a Pro, because Resident Evil is a beautiful looking game, and I'm really shocked that it doesn't, do that, or at the very least, at least be the exact same thing but a higher like frame rate at the very least.
Something.
Right?
I haven't heard anything of late that talked about that stuff. Everyone's talking about the VR stuff, but no one's talking about if there's any enhanced stuff for it. But
interesting.
Word. We have to do some investigative reporting on that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Mass Effect Andromeda, which comes out,
I think they said
very soon, is enhanced. I think they mentioned that earlier because that's another game that looks incredible, and I'm hoping that that's enhanced.
That's gonna be crazy. So I know you talked about you had a great appearance on DLC with Jeff Kanata and Christian Spicer. Shout out to them as usual. And you were talking about the Switch, which we talked about in our previous episode. And in between now and now, you got some more information on the Switch?
Yep. Yeah. So I have a Switch. No, I don't. Sorry.
That would have been dope.
But
sorry.
As I said before, GameSpot was running this crazy deal where basically if you traded in your Wii U and your 3DS, they would give you enough credit to pre-order a Switch and Zelda like for free. So I did that. So now I was going to pre-order it like regardless.
Right.
But this gave me even more incentive. Even if I didn't like the launch lineup, I probably would, even if Zelda wasn't out, if I could get one paid for. Right. Like nothing else is coming out for the Wii U. You know what I'm saying? So,
you might as well.
Yeah, and like I don't play my like 3DS as much anymore, so it's fine. But I think the big thing that came out over the past 2 weeks on the Switch is there's a decent amount of games coming out for this thing.
Yep.
And Nintendo is not doing a good job themselves of saying that
in classic Nintendo style.
Yeah, because obviously during the press conference, we were like, all right, it's going to be 2 or 3 launch games and maybe 4 or 5 games during the year. And that was a major criticism of all of us, of them. What people have been doing on Reddit is they've been taking the original slide that Nintendo made with all of the games on it, and they've been, every time a developer announces their game, they've been adding to it. So they've been doing Nintendo's work for them.
Oh god.
So I have the latest copy of the photo, and basically there's going to be 10 launch games now, up from 3, which is what we knew before. So it's going to be Zelda, 1-2 Switch, Binding of Isaac, Skylanders Imaginators, Super Bomberman R, Just Dance, I Am Setsuna, Road of Goo, Little Inferno, and Human Resource Machine. So I think that's decent. I mean, definitely some ports, right? But I love World of Goo, and I haven't played it in like 10 years. So like if that's cheap on the eShop, I don't mind that.
Sure.
Bomberman looked pretty cool. I've always been a big Bomberman fan. I think it's a great kind of like local multiplayer fit, which is what like Nintendo products are about. And I love playing Just Dance with my girlfriend. So like, I can see, like, I definitely got Zelda, and I can see myself in March also getting Bomberman and Just Dance, possibly World of Goo. 1-2 Switch seems interesting, but not at $50.
Oh, that thing was going to be $50?
$50.
Ooh.
And like they're saying, well, it's not 60, and I'm like, yeah, but it's 50. You know what I'm saying?
That should be a $30 game.
Like that joint needs to be like $20.
Oh, damn.
I mean, because you want to sell people on the concept of the console, so like you got to have them get like everyone should own this game that has a Switch, right? Just the same way everybody with the Wii U had Nintendo Land, everybody with the Wii had like Wii Sports. I kind of taught you about the stuff. And I Am Setsuna, I haven't played it, but I've heard good things about it because I think it came out for the PS4 and Vita already.
Yeah, people like that game a lot.
And even though I own The Binding of Isaac on Steam, this one is supposed to come with all the DLC on it, which I don't have. So to get that game on the go, which I just love those kind of games on the go, I would consider that as well.
I loved playing that on Vita too, so that was great.
Yeah, so that's 4 or 5 games around the launch that I'm interested in, which is, like before it was like just Zelda, you know? And then in like the rest of March, they have Snipper Clips, which a lot of people say might be kind of like the sleeper indie hit.
Snipper Clips.
It is not a game about Ice Cube and Nicki Minaj in a barbershop. It is not Barbershop 4.
I don't even know what to do with that.
That would be awesome though.
She put the Nicki Minaj game on Switch. She has.
Does she have a game?
Yeah, she has a game.
Is it like a Kim Kardashian kind of game?
Yep. She made a shit ton of money off it too.
Oh, I want to be a Barbie. Yep. So they're also doing a new version of Fast Racing Neo, which was like sort of like a F-Zero clone, but it was a really good F-Zero clone. I think that Nintendo kind of realized like, hey, we're not going to make F-Zero, so here, take this F-Zero clone. Nice. And like the clone is really, I think, a better version of F-Zero, really. And an indie game called Has Been Heroes, which is like a roguelike game, which you haven't seen a lot on like Nintendo platforms. It's like a side-scrolling, lane-based roguelike game where like you're like switching abilities and you're taking out enemies and that kind of stuff. So all in all, there's in 2017, there's about 80 games on here.
Wow. Okay.
And now, if you like the games, it's a different story, right? But I don't think that you can really sit. Well, not you, Ka, but I don't think that the narrative that they don't have any games can really like suffice. It's like really if the library is something to your liking. So like I see a lot of games that I'm excited about. Obviously, Zelda, Mario Kart 8. Splatoon and Mario are the big ones. But they also announced that indie game Rhyme, which like actually looks cool and it stars a character of color in it. Nice. Super excited about that. There's like a new version of like Shovel Knight, which like seems cool. I love Shovel Knight. There's this Puyo Puyo Tetris game, which I wasn't sure. Yeah. I didn't even know what it was about until I saw a video. Yeah, but there's this cool mode where it like randomly switches between Tetris and Puyo Puyo, which actually looks cool. It looks like a good like party game. Yeah. And then there's ARMS, which like looks decent. NBA 2K, which I've asked several people at 2K, and they've all said, "Yo, we can't talk about it." I'm like, it launches in September.
They can't talk about it.
So that kind of makes me scared that they're going to do some last minute, like, oh man, yeah, we got 2 weeks left. I think they have make a Switch version. You know what I mean?
I think they have enough resources. I think that they've been really close to the vest in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I just that's always my number one kind of worry about major games that are ported to Nintendo kind of platforms is that like I almost don't want them because in the past like they've just released not good versions of them. And like I'm not just talking about just like visually, because we all know that the Nintendo consoles are always going to be underpowered and not have the same kind of visuals, but just like everything, the menus, the speed of it, all that stuff.
Actually, you know what gave me some hope though about the 2K stuff on Switch is the VR stuff they did on PS4, to be honest. Like I feel like they could have cheaped out on that experience and not made it kind of fully fleshed out for the platform that they were on, because it's a new platform. Yeah. That gave me actually a little bit more hope that they will do well on the Switch.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the lineup for 2017. I think it's a good mix of games. I think it's a good mix of like them continuing with like some of these IPs that started on the Wii U, and with and their third party support. is pretty impressive. I mean, it's not going to be like the major games, but the fact that like third parties are like making, maybe like they're like second line or they're indie games, I think is like pretty promising for the console. And I do think that if you get it sometime in the year, I still don't think you should pre-order it unless you're a big Zelda fan like I am. But if you pick it up, say, in the summer for Splatoon or in the winter for Mario, I think you'll have a ton of games to choose from. And I think, it's looking pretty good for them.
I'm kind of hoping during GDC that I'm able to do a little bit of friend-DAing and looking at people and be like, hey, do you know anyone who's working on stuff for Switch? And if you do, we'd like to talk to them. Because I think the inside stuff about like what they are looking at when they are trying to figure out how to develop for this console will be really interesting actually to talk about, because there's a lot of just like moving parts happening, and that's less the parts of like working with Nintendo and how they actually work with their developers, but more about the hardware of like what do they feel like they are able to do in this early stage and what they feel like they'll be able to do later on. So that'll be a great part of the conversation that you hopefully will see during GDC in the next couple of months. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. And also one more thing on that is that Reggie made some statements about third parties supports, and I feel like it showed that at least he tends to have a good understanding, I feel like, about why the Wii U had such a hard time. I'm not sure if Nintendo, meaning like Nintendo of Japan, who calls all the shots, does. But he basically said, and I'm like quoting here. He said, "What third parties want are a large, growing install base, a development environment that's easy for them to work in, and the ability to monetize. And we were not able to deliver that on the Wii U, which I think is incredible. They had no install base. They did not make it easy to like develop on. They like pull up a lot of borders, and they had it wasn't a x86, so it was completely different. And they couldn't monetize it because in terms of like DLC and like that kind of stuff, their stuff wasn't as developed. So I was pretty happy with that. And then he said, we are going to be able to deliver that on the Switch, and we have like Unity, Unreal Engine. So I'm like, he gets it, and he's like publicly saying it.
That's good. That's good. I mean, that's the thing. That's the reason why people really like Reggie. Is that Reggie feels like he can be a little bit introspective and say, you know what, okay, we didn't really get this thing right, and we're trying to, fix that in the next iteration. So that's good. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to see that, but now I'm like, but my sense is that Reggie's doesn't really call the shots for stuff.
No, he doesn't.
So he's saying stuff, and then like the overlords at Nintendo are gonna be like, yeah, okay, Reggie, great.
Go over in the corner and be tall again. Just go over there and go be tall.
Go be tall.
Go be tall and menacing. You go over there and be tall. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh well. I mean, we'll see. I'm happy to hear that you and other folks who I know once this information came out are really excited. That's a good thing about new consoles is like people will get their buzz and their hype up. So I like that part of the game.
Yeah. I'm much more positive on the game's lineup than I was earlier.
Yeah, so you can buy me one too.
So I'm pretty good. Hey, I mean, like if you trade in your Wii U and your 3DS, you can get one.
I don't got no Wii U 3DS.
Yes, you do. I know you got one hidden somewhere. You've been lying to us the whole time. It's like a smoking habit.
I'm a Nintendo fan by heart. I got a Nintendo tattoo.
I see you going in the
I
corner.
gave away my Wii. I gave my wife's nephew my Wii like 2 weeks after I got it.
Sweet.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want this anymore. It's just dumb. Take it.
Yeah.
He's happy.
A lot of people did that with their Wii's, man. So you were not alone. You were not
nice.
You were not alone. Okay. All right. So the next story that we have here, and I guess I should have put this with the Scorpio one, but it's fine. Is so like most people have sort of a favorite game or like a number of favorite games that they consider like, hey, these are my favorites, right?
Right.
But if those games are newer, then that person also had to have previous favorites, right? So like, maybe 5 years ago, like your favorite game, was Grand Theft Auto, right? And then like maybe in the last 5 years, another game came out that supplanted that, and that became, it's like your favorite game. So I wanted to have the little discussions. Do you have any games like that like kind of like used to be your favorites and then got eclipsed, or do you think that that you haven't had any that eclipsed sort of like your personal favorites?
My penultimate game.
Yep.
Well, my game, the game now that I really love is the Nicki Minaj game. That's my favorite game.
Woo!
Love you, Nicki, marry me.
Man,
No, I mean, shit. Oh, so many things that could be said about that comment. It's interesting. I had a lot of games that I liked back in the day, and I think it kind of spans eras, right? Where in the 8-bit era, there were so many great Nintendo games that I loved. Russian Attack from the arcade, and then got ported to Nintendo. There was Bad Dudes. We talked about that on the show. Ninja Gaiden, Legend of Kage, all those kinds of games were some of my favorites. In that era, then the 16-bit era, you move in, it was like Crazy Taxi and not Crazy Taxi, because that was a little bit further. Sonic, of course, and Genesis and Altered Beast and all that stuff, and Eternal Champions, which nobody remembers for some strange reason.
Because it's terrible.
Because Eternal Champions had
a terrible game.
Wesley Snipes in it. So whatever, I don't care what you say. That was Wesley Snipes in Blade before Blade.
Oh my god!
And then you kind of move forward, right? And it's funny because like my favorite series has always been Metal Gear. That has kind of waned in the new generation. Even though 5 was really good, which I still haven't finished, which sucks because I'm terrible. But that has really got supplanted by the indie space to me. The indie space has taken a lot of the favorites categories and bridged them, as opposed to kind of, this particular game was a thing. So it's like more of a genre now that has taken my love of gaming into account than it has an actual particular game. So like Journey and Inside now is one of those games.
Yeah,
that has definitely like put a thing in my mind. Small stuff that people like, a lot of little off games like 4 a.m., which I still need to go buy a PS3 for. Like I need to go buy another PS3, find the old PS3 camera, get my Wii remotes, my PlayStation moves, and vibe out and play music, to no one because those servers are dead now. But like stuff like experiences like that were the ones that I would come home from work and I would just run home to go play that stuff because those were the things that made me feel good, like made me feel like gaming was trying to do something different. So yeah, it's moved a lot. Like it's a great question. That's a really good question. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like my top games, those hasn't moved that much. Those are kind of older games. And I think I do that because I go back and I play these games almost every year and I still enjoy them. Yeah. So that's why I tend to put those up higher. Like they aren't older games that I played once and haven't touched yet. And like, oh yeah, this is my favorite. Like these are ones I've literally played thousands of times. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I was playing Street Fighter 2 during Spawn for Good.
Yeah.
Like that's easily on my top games of all time list because it's just so solid. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not only did it launch a genre, so like it's like not only like important and influential,
right,
but the actual game design is just amazing. But I will say though, the one company that has like kept making me rearrange my top games list every time they make a game is Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Like both Last of Us and Uncharted 4 are both on my like, probably top 10, top 15 games.
Yeah.
And those are games, obviously, they just came out a few years ago, That's probably the one company that keeps disrupting my favorites. Every time it like comes out, I'm like, man,
it's always that like this, it can't get no better than this.
Yeah.
And then they do it and they do it again.
Yeah. So like that's the one company that I continually knocks out another one of my previous favorites. And it always goes up there because yeah, I think another game that did that was I remember Vice City. So like Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Ooh, yeah.
So when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, I was like, okay, this is the apex of what this does. Like they might have a sequel and they might have 3 or 4, but it won't be as good as this one.
Sure.
And then Vice City came out and just blew me out of the water, you know? And then Grand Theft Auto 5 came out because I thought San Andreas and 4 I didn't think were as good as Vice City.
Right.
But then 5 came out, and then that blew me out of the water.
Yep.
So like Rockstar, when they're on their P's and Q's, I think they also kind of do that. Like for me, is they continually outdo themselves, and their games just hit me in all the right ways.
I feel like Rockstar and Naughty Dog have figured out the special sauce to they don't force feed you anything that you don't want, and they definitely space their games out long enough that when you do know that something's coming, you're super excited for it, which I think is a part of their formula, which really makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look at how crazy people are going for Red Dead 2.
I know.
Like now I don't hold Red Dead as high as a lot of people do. I mean, I think it's good, but like I don't think it's like great. But people were losing their mind. All Rockstar did was post a picture.
Yeah, it was it's pretty. You know what? Because that's what it is. It's like that game in that setting is going to be like Witcher, right? Where it shows off, all the environments and all the like little small things that make environments and setting really matter. So
yes, so that will be interesting. Is when a game like that comes out and the Scorpio is out. Is the Scorpio version gonna blow out the PS4 Pro version? Because that's a game where I feel like the visual like fidelity will really matter in terms of the immersiveness and in terms of obviously the Game Press are going to latch on to that and like the narrative of it. If like a game like that can definitively prove that the Scorpio is a higher caliber, then that might drive some purchases.
We'll see. I mean, it's going to be real interesting when that game drops. What's going to show it off. And again, like the Scorpio, the thing that I'm most excited for is to see what those initial launch games are going to be, because I think they have to come out the gate strong with that stuff. If they don't, then it's going to be real hard. I
mean, I really think it'll be similar to the Pro. It's going to be like, hey, here's like Call of Duty with some more lighting. Here's a Mass Effect with some additional blades of grass on the ground. I hope they launch with like a Halo or a Gears or a Forza.
They don't drop that thing with Crackdown. They got to drop it with Crackdown.
I think they might try to get Crackdown out sooner, man.
Oh man, all right.
I don't know. I mean, because like Gears 4 just came out, so they won't have a new Gears. They might have an updated one.
Gears Pro.
I feel like it's too early to have like a new Halo.
Yeah.
And Forza is too early for a new Forza too. So like they would only have to have updated versions of what just came out. Which I doubt that they're gonna have like brand new stuff, but
we'll see.
Who knows? We'll see.
We'll see.
So speaking of Microsoft, they also announced Windows 10 game mode.
Yep.
So this is currently if you're in the Windows Insider programs, meaning you get like beta installs of like Windows for God knows what reasons, because that probably will destroy everything on your computer. So like the latest feature has like Windows 10 game mode, which if you turn it on, it will basically make your games run better by like prioritizing things with the CPU cycles and the GPU cycles over like the background kind of processes that Windows runs. Because
and it turns off Windows Update.
Yeah, because if you're really into PC gaming, like you like sometimes wish like, man, can I just like turn off Windows while I'm gaming? Like, can I just like, I don't need to have to switch back while I'm gaming. I don't need to Alt Tab and have it there. Right. I want it off.
Yeah.
So like this won't quite turn it off, but it will like significantly. Well, they're saying that will significantly decrease the amount of resources that's being used by the background stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
What I thought was the really cool part is that they said that this will most likely have a larger impact games under their UWP system, meaning games that are bought at the Windows Store and that are Windows 10 apps. Okay. Right. So like that includes all the Xbox Anywhere games that you can only get on the Windows Store. But if you ever go to the Windows Store, they have a whole bunch of games on there that are also on Steam as well. So what they're kind of hinting at and what some people are speculating is that they could be saying, hey, we can make games that are built in our platform actually run better on your computer. So it could possibly be a reason for people to get games from the Windows Store instead of Steam. Now, this is, a speculation, but Microsoft has been kind of looking for some way to justify this store aside from the Xbox Anywhere stuff, which is obviously a huge kind of selling point, but is kind of limited in its scope. Mm-hmm. But like this could be huge. Like I would buy something from the Windows Store if like there was like a significant improvement over the Steam version.
Well, here's my question to you, because I think that was a thing that when I got my PC, I was like, well, do I even need my Xbox anymore? Because all these things are supposed to be coming out in the Xbox Store and blah, 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 and it'll run faster and prettier. Do you feel like this feature will possibly help to kind of cannibalize their own stuff with the Xbox coming out? Because the folks who are, no matter what teraflops, megaflops, super extra flops are going to come out with the Xbox Scorpio, your PC will more than likely still be more powerful than it. Do you feel like this is still going to, give those people who are in that PC space, or I shouldn't say the people in the PC space worry about the Xbox folks, but the people who are looking to get rid of their Xbox now have even more of a reason to get rid of it or not jump to the next iteration of the Xbox?
I do think that it will affect a limited amount of people, but I think that is not as large of a sample that it would affect Microsoft's decision. I think that people game on consoles for reasons that don't have to do with power or that kind of stuff. It's like mostly about wanting that lean back experience in the living room, and usually that's where the majority of friends are. And it's just easier to navigate controllers. You don't have to worry about other things that you have to do with PC gaming. So I think that those reasons will always dominate over, a PC being more powerful and that kind of stuff. So I think that, if you want a PC game, you're going to PC game. Like I don't, and like that comes with all this crap that you have to deal with, with video cards and, drivers and all that kind of stuff.
And you have a lack of Fat Joe because you don't have the lean back version of the PC.
This is true. This is very true. This is very true.
In your pants.
In your pants. That's what I call a chain reaction.
Why do you know that lyric?
Yeah, I know the whole song. It's a good song, man.
I know you too.
It's a good song.
I can see you leave.
I like that song way better than that, like that All the Way Up song. Last year.
Agreed.
I'm not a fan of that song, but everybody loved it. People love that song.
Oh no.
Lean Back was a joint, man. Yeah. So I don't think it'll cannibalize. I think that, again, if this is true, it'd be a smart move by Microsoft. And I think that I don't think people buy products from Steam because they have any like allegiance to Valve because they think that they do it better. It's just because there's literally nothing else unless you want to go for the more open indie kind of like Desora, and those kind of platforms. But like those don't really have like the big games, So yeah, I think this is cool, and I think that it's good to see that Microsoft is consistently looking to improve how their PCs handle games.
Yeah.
It's a long way from games for Windows.
Oh my God, games for Windows was so bad.
Back in the Vista days, Windows Vista days, when it was like, here's Halo 2, but you can only run it on Vista.
Oh my God. In 640 by 480. Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
That was raggedy. Anyway, our last story of the show You picked this up. Where was this from? Gama Sutra?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a great article. I'm glad you picked this.
Yep. So it's an article from Gama Sutra. The official title is "Learning the Video Game Canon: How to Deal with Over 40 Years of Backlog."
Mm.
So there's new people coming to gaming all the time. Obviously, we want our industry, our culture to grow. Like we want people to respect this art form. We want both new, younger people to come into it, and older folks that might have shied away. We always want people to come in. So what like this is saying is, yo, how do you bring somebody into gaming when they don't know all the background stuff? And I think games probably more so than other medium kind of assumes a lot of things. They assume that you know how to navigate in a 3D space with an analog stick.
Right.
You know, a lot of people, when you first put a controller in their hand, they just are like looking down at their feet because they don't know how to convert it, right? We like assume that like people know that, you know, if there's a crack in the wall, you should try to hit it. Like, or
right.
if there's a musical cue that, you know, that like it means that like there's a secret, right? They assume that like, you know, that, you know, if you're in a platformer, you can jump on an enemy's head. If you've never played a Mario game, you don't know that.
Right.
You know, so like there's a lot of assumptions, and it's like also something that I like when I've run into with like TV series, with like movies where they might add like a whole background of like 3 or 4 things. It's hard to jump into things when you have to deal with all those assumptions. And I know, Ka, I know that you mentioned that in the Final Fantasy world, when you jumped into 15, that like you had a similar thing. So are you saying that you haven't played all 14?
I have
Final
not
Fantasies?
played all 14 Final Fantasies. I would be Final Fantasy screwed because I would not just have enough time to do it. I played 7. I played a little bit of 7 because I wanted to see what the big whoop was about 7, and quickly fell off of the 7 train because I just couldn't. I couldn't do the old antiquated graphics. I didn't play it in its heyday, so it like didn't give me the thing. But jumping into 15, I had a lot of expectations, but I also kind of was able to go into it fresh faced, and that was nice. I've played about 8 hours of it and haven't gone back to it because it's not really holding my attention.
Okay.
But I think that it is a hard decision. It is a harder thing to kind of wrap your brain around if you don't know the canon. So like, you know, this game doesn't really deal with materia in the same way that 7 did, or the same kind of things like that. But when I was trying to ask people, like, all right, I'm going to play 7 now, they were like, oh, you got to know what the materia is. If you don't know what the materia is, then you can't play this game. You got to know how all the materia works and all the stuff. And I was like, I have no clue what any of the stuff you just said meant because I played it. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do, nor when I got into it did I know what I was supposed to do. And I felt like it was at a disadvantage for me. Like it definitely was a barrier to my enjoyment, and also to me feeling like I could connect with other people in the community, because I was like, I just don't know what you're saying, and you're really, really hype about this motherfucking material. So I was like, I don't know what to do about that. So it was I don't know, it was one of those weird things where I feel like it definitely was cool to be able to feel like I was a part of a group, but then also the game definitely did push me away, and that felt kind of weird, and I don't know how to really articulate that in any other words besides that. But it is nice to be able to kind of get into a space and then be able to bring someone in and then explain those things, and then give them a way to talk about those things as well in a way that they feel comfortable, because then that definitely does build a lot of kinship in that respect, and respect, and making the game fun for them too. So
yeah. Are there other games that you can remember that you kind of jumped into in the middle of a series that you felt like you were still able to enjoy it and and get something out of it, even though you didn't sort of have the background. I know an example for me is The Witcher 3, because I never played The Witcher 1 and 2. But I jumped right in, and I felt like I was able to understand stuff, and it wasn't constantly making like kind of references that I didn't understand. It was like definitely nuggets in there for like people that played it, and like if you talk to a hardcore fan, they're always going to say you have to start from the beginning. But for the most part, I think if a game is done well, you don't have to.
I mean, I felt like that with the Fallout series. Like I never played Fallout 1 or 2 on PC, and jumped in at 3. I never played Morrowind or any of those games, but played Skyrim and Oblivion. So those felt really easy to jump into. I'm hoping that people like, there are some games, like I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game.
I haven't either.
So I'm like, I would like to know what it's like to jump into that world and see what it's like. But I think that we talked about a little bit about this before the show, but like Mass Effect Andromeda, I feel like hopefully will be a game that people will be able to jump into and then go back and fill in whatever there were, because I think that world does that well. I think it does that. It lends to, this big sci-fi mission, this big sci-fi epic story that lends to that being done really well. So yeah, I hope so. Do you feel like there are some of those games that is there a game that you kind of wish that you could share with someone that is a little bit longer in the tooth, and also like in the lineage of that game, that you'd want to share with somebody, and like, hey, if you're gonna jump in here,
Yeah, I mean, I think Uncharted is kind of like that. I think when I played through Uncharted 4, I got so much benefit, I feel like, from having the relationships with Eliza and Scully. I just feel like it would be hard for me to go in without having those intact.
Yeah.
And still, I still would have enjoyed the game. Sorry, Elena, I meant. But yeah, I mean, I still would have enjoyed the game from the set pieces and the action and adventuring and stuff. But I feel like where that game and most Naughty Dog games shine is the relationships, is like the looks, like the tells, like the conversations, like the emotion in the faces. And I don't know if I would have really got that if I didn't realize what they've been through in the past games.
Agreed.
I think more so with a game that focuses heavily on dialogue, like the Mass Effect series. For like instance, I probably wouldn't be as ride or die for Rex if I just jumped in 3, if like I didn't almost shoot him in part 1.
That's true.
Yeah, I always tell people, if you can, please start at Mass Effect 1. That's the one game that like I like tell people, like, yo, if you can, because this game is all about relationships.
Yeah. Like
almost the other stuff is great, but like the moments I think about is not blowing up Reapers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's not really what I think about when I think about what makes Mass Effect 2 one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah. Like I think about, like having these conversations, making these hard decisions, killing Ashley because she was a human racist.
Like that conversation between Morden and Rex about the genophage. Like,
yes.
I was like, I was having a conversation with somebody. Shout out to Sterling McGarvey. I was having we talked about the genophage the other day and how it's weirdly connected to race relations and stuff that you see now, because they have these like parallels and stuff like that. And it was just like, fuck Morden, like Morden's a fuck Morden, man. Like he killed my peoples, man. He killed my people, and I was mad at that. But that stuck with me, right? Like I stuck with a lot of players where if you you say genophage to people, they know and they have a feeling attached to that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And like that's the power of art, like including games, right?
Yeah.
So you can attach emotions to these words.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish that people could play those, but I know everybody doesn't have 60, 70 hours to play through those 2 games. I mean, they're not short games.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, I'm sure there's speed runs or whatever where people do it
real fast.
Yeah, just that's like the one series that I would say. But I think another thing that the article kind of brings up is, can you understand and get the same feeling on a game, say if you read about what it is as opposed to having to play through and beat it. So like, for example, like if like you just jump into Mass Effect 3 or to Dragon Age 3, I think as well, they give you sort of a list of simulated kind of situations where you make choices, and then that kind of simulates some of those main like decisions that you made in the earlier game, so that you have some background, and then of course you could like read a wiki or a summary or like all that kind of stuff. And I think for some genres that's enough. Because you just can't play everything. Unless you're like a games like reviewer and you're getting paid to play the game. That's the only time you can actually probably play everything. And like even with that, like you're playing it kind of like a very calculated, efficient way. That like probably doesn't let you get lost or immerse really into something. I mean, I think you can. Is it exactly the same? No. Is it enough that you'll leave the new game with a higher level of satisfaction? I think so.
Yeah, like I think some of the games we touched upon, like Mass Effect, I think you do yourself a disservice if you try to speed run a game like that, and some of those, some of those pre-done kind of check boxes of like, did you do this? Did you do that? You romanced such and such, like those things. They lose the emotion that went along with the anticipation of being able to do that stuff and make that decision on your own. But I do think that the way that those games are kind of pushed out, or the way that they kind of evolve throughout your gameplay time, I think it does give you some way to fast forward your way through some of it. It would be really interesting, and it's funny that you bring this up, and this is the reason why this was such a great piece to bring up. It made me really think about the Telltale series of games right now, because there are, when I was moving my systems over from my PS3 to my PS4, there was a in-between gameplay. Oh, there was an in-between game between season 1 and season 2 of Walking Dead. That was 500 days.
Yeah.
And there was some really good connective tissue pieces that transferred over into season 2, that when I moved over from one console to the other, they didn't have that game in there anymore.
Okay.
So there were some actual decision making processes that I had in there that made my characters do a certain thing and had them be very different in on that platform. And I wish that they had those check boxes. You know what I mean? Like I would have been able to recreate those scenarios so that I would be able to start at the place that I kind of left off. So I think it depends on the game. I think it depends on, like you said, the scenarios. But I think that the option should kind of be there too. Like I think a lot of people don't think that should be a thing. But I'm happy that developers have put those kinds of shortcuts in there so that people can fast forward and get to where they want to kind of let their character start with. So yeah, that's good stuff. I'm happy that some of that stuff is in there.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, that is our final story.
Man, that was we blazed through it. We check boxed our way.
Yeah. Hey. I mean, when there's no Cicero on the show, you just blaze right through. I mean, there's no crazy comments. There's no stubnostications out the blue. It's all good.
Word. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I do miss you, see.
We miss you, son. He'll be back next week. We have a really cool guest coming next week too. So get ready for that. We'll shout that stuff out on social media, and hopefully we'll have some other cool announcements and stuff going on in the next couple of weeks. But until then, check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, at Spawn on Me, at Shareef Jackson, at Stubby Stan, at Kaja Kins. You can check us out on ESN.FM. You can check us out on NPR One. You can also check us out on iTunes. Please send us a review. We really love those. Those really make us feel good, and they definitely help us with sharing the show with other people. This is on YouTube. We will be able to see this on our YouTube channel and our YouTube page. Please subscribe there and shout us out there. Also on Twitch at Spawn on Me, at Shareef Jackson on no, it's not Shareef Jackson. Is it on Twitch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No. At Reef Jackson.
At Reef Jackson.
Because Shareef Jackson was
stolen.
Long story, but
stolen.
It wasn't stolen, but if you care, when Justin TV was bought out by Twitch, I had Shareef Jackson on Justin TV, but I couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't stream. When they bought it, what was it? It was something like I couldn't stream with that name, so I had to pick a new name. It was something that like I couldn't do regular Twitch streaming through like XSplit and like do all that stuff that involves like a stream key. Like I couldn't do that with my Justin TV account.
I'm just gonna blame racism.
Racism.
I'm gonna blame racism. I'm gonna blame Trump. I'm blaming Trump.
Okay.
That's the reason why you could.
Obviously, I would blame him for that too.
I'm blaming him. And definitely check us out on all those places. And again, thank you everybody for coming through every week and listening to the show. All the kind words that you share with us on Twitter and on Facebook and all the social media channels really does make us feel like the work that we do here matters. And we hope that we'll definitely be able to do some more cool stuff with you and the rest of the crew in Chicago in the future, in the upcoming months. We have a lot of stuff planned. GDC is happening. Hopefully E3 will be happening again this year for us. Lots of big plans for stuff that we want to involve you in. So until then, we will say peace, and we are out of here for episode 140.